above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Isaac, make us whole again.
The Dead Space remake is such a treat to fans of the original game. If you somehow haven't heard of Dead Space, I'll give you a brief synopsis. You play as Isaac Clarke, who is an engineer in a support/rescue team heading towards the planet-cracking ship called the USG Ishimura, after it had suddenly gone dark. It is revealed in the beginning of the game Isaac's wife, Nicole Brennan, is one of the doctors stationed on the Ishimura. On entry to the Ishimura, there is meant to be an automatic docking procedure that allows pilots to safely dock their ships. However, this system goes haywire, causing their ship to crash into the Ishimura docking bay, making the ship to be unflyable without repairs. Support team, thinking that the crew of the Ishimura just don't know their docking procedure is busted, head inside to look for help, only to find the rest of the ship in various states of dilapidation and decay. Support team also very quickly encountered the mutated horrors of the ship, known throughout the series as the Necromorphs. After this encounter with the Necromorphs begins, the support team's desperate fight to survive and find a way off the Ishimura while simultaneously making sure the Ishimura is in working order for long enough for them to find a way out. I personally only played the original a couple of years ago and am yet to play the second, and will even play the third despite how the stinkiness of the game. But anyway, the remake is amazing. I only went into the remake with the knowledge of the original game and was expecting the remake to be the original just with updated graphics. However, I was pleasantly surprised to see that they had made some changes, and those changes were good. For example, Isaac actually talks now. I do know in the second game he talks, but in the original he's a silent protagonist. And in the original they did make him being a silent protagonist work well, but I did notice that despite Isaac being the engineer of the team, the game ended up being people telling him how to do his job, even though realistically they probably wouldn't know what he has to do. In the remake, however, him being able to talk makes him sound like an actual engineer. I do remember a couple of times someone would say something isn't working, and Isaac would then say something like, "If that's not working, then that means this thing is broken." Whereas in the original, that dialogue exchange would be something more like, "Hey Isaac, this is broken because of this, now go fix it." And Isaac would just say nothing and go fix it. I'm mostly off memory here, but I think they added some new areas to the game as well. Might be misremembering because the areas I think are new are only small, but it was a welcome addition and none of them were bad or really anything to complain about. I also think the lighting in this game was way darker than the original. I remember in some areas actually having to use my gun's flashlight, when in the original I didn't have to at all. I'm also pretty sure they added a new enemy as well. There's a form of necromorph that looks like the normal ones, but they spit at you from a distance. But like I said before, I'm just going off memory here. I did unfortunately encounter a couple of bugs throughout my playthrough. One time I got stuck in one of the shops and couldn't leave without restarting my game, and the other one actually froze the very last cutscene of the game. It was very weird because I could see a character's hair moving in the wind, but Isaac and her were just staring at each other, whilst she had her mouth open because it froze mid-sentence. I was really hoping EA would remake the second and third games too, but unfortunately this game didn't sell well, and apparently remakes for those games were planned and then cancelled. If you know anything about Dead Space's history though, it's that all the games undersold initially, but eventually got sequels. Except the third, because if you know about that game, it's just really bad. They did change some of the story in the remake and added some lore for the extended universe. Although these story changes are small, if you plan on playing the trilogy and decide to play the remake as the first game and then move on to the second, some of the story may not line up 100%, but I think it will be okay if you were to play these games that way. So now for the big question, would I recommend this game? And the answer is yes. In fact, I already have, even before beating it. If I were to give the game a score out of 10, I'd give it a good 9.5. This is an incredible and faithful remake that made good changes that weren't insulting to the original.